I see the use of AI happening even more in high-frequency trading, in algo advisory. In terms of opportunity, I think AI is an excellent tool. So if you would have any sort of AI bias that would go against the initial concept of digital assets and crypto being financially inclusive, because they would start profiling people in terms of their ethnicity, their race, their financial power, and then they'll be giving them sorts of ratings, which is against AI principles from an OECD and UN perspective.
Hello, my name is Mary Pierce, and today's speaker is Maha Al-Saadi. She is an expert in blockchain, AI, and digital markets. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor.
My pleasure. So excited to have this interview with you. You have so much expertise. So what trends do you see between the Middle East, American, Europe, and obviously in the blockchain, AI, and digital technologies? What trends do you see in the coming years between the different countries?
Okay, so I think what we will be seeing a lot of in the next couple of years is the emergence of central bank digital currencies as a way, if I can put it very politely, to fight cryptocurrencies, because I feel like the majority of the central banks, regulators and supervisors will be seeing cryptocurrencies as a bit of a speculative nature, a bit of an instrument that could have some sort of a negative effect on financial stability and market integrity. We can argue if that's true or not. In a lot of cases, we can see that central bank-backed currencies or fiat currencies might not be the most stable, but we will be seeing a lot of CBDCs coming to rise. I think the latest statistics that I've read was almost 93% of all CBDCs, of all central banks are considering CBDCs. The majority are moving away from proof of concepts and testing. With the help of the Bank of International Settlements, we're starting to see a bit of live applications coming with, Mbridge, Project Agora, just to name a few. So after CBDC, I also see a bigger role of institutional DeFi, institutional decentralized finance. I might be getting a bit of a hate for saying what I'm going to be saying next / unpopular opinion, but I do not really see proper, true DeFi applications. As long as you can trace it to someone, it's not really truly decentralized. So what we will be seeing more and more with the likes of BlackRock, with the likes of JP Morgan, Goldman, BNP Paribas, and the likes, is that we're seeing very major banks stepping to take some of the lessons learned and the inefficiencies that they've witnessed in traditional finance and implementing decentralized finance or DeFi, institutional DeFi. This could be in the form of issuances of securities, in the form of payments. So institutional DeFi is the second trend. The third trend is seeing more and more of a convergence between blockchain and AI. And I don't see them happening in, they could have separate applications, but I'm seeing more in terms of convergence of the two technologies where they can complement each other's in terms of data quality, in terms of eliminating biases, in terms of producing more inclusive access to finance. Then going to the next part of the question is in terms of jurisdictions, Europe, US versus the Middle East. I feel like, again, Europe has done a very good job in terms of regulating. The AI Act is in force. MiCA is in force. The DLT pilot regime in Europe is all in force. Whereas the US, we're still struggling into the classifications of securities and cryptos and whether the Dodd-Frank Act still works or not. I think the Middle East is in a very comfortable position where we can take all of the lessons learned from all of these jurisdictions and just cherry pick what worked. I think the United Arab Emirates has done a tremendous job with having the first crypto asset regulator or virtual asset regulator, VARA. Now, you can have your own opinion if you really need to have a specific regulated for virtual assets, since some of them might be also investment tokens or security tokens, but that was a first of its kind. You have Saudi Arabia with their FinTech Saudi initiatives where they're looking into different use cases. That is amazing. And of course, what Qatar is doing, we have Qatar Central Bank has issued on the 27th of July the DLT guidelines, looking into generic use cases for the use of DLT. Qatar Financial Center, in cooperation with Qatar Central Bank, is working on a digital asset framework, which in its current draft prohibits cryptocurrencies, but looks into where the real money is, real world asset tokenization. So I think that the future is bright. I think that a lot of the bad players that we saw in the past 2-3 years are starting to basically fade away. No more FTXs, no more Libra kind of situations, because we have regulations. We have more investment from the traditional incumbents. And we're having a bit more in terms of maturity and understanding from the market.
Wow, that's impressive. I mean, especially because it's kind of like digital, it is kind of like a new era, right? With all of it. So going from the old to the new, it's like emerging and trying to see what's real, what works, what doesn't work. It's very impressive.
I would also like to add, like, we're seeing even sovereign states. In Europe, Slovenia, people will be looking at Slovenia thinking it's a small country. Slovenia was the first country in the world to issue a digital bond using DLT.
Wow.
And that was done in the cooperation with BNP Paribas using a permissioned chain from Digital Assets DAML. So now we're even seeing like the adoption from a state level. That shows us like this technology is not going away. If at all, we're going to see more and more proper real life use cases coming up in the next few years.
Yeah, evolving with it and knowing that, it's here to stay.
Absolutely.
Now you just have to figure out how to implement it in the right way that is beneficial for all of us.
Yes. Thank you.
How do you see the geopolitical financial development between, these different countries for receiving payments globally?
That's a very interesting question. I think, again, looking into why did we have Bitcoin? Bitcoin originated back in the time that we had the financial crisis. So it looked into the things that were not working with our current payment systems. And it said, like, we need to have a peer-to-peer payment transaction that would allow us to have a new trust in an algorithm. We don't want to trust an entity or a central bank. We can do it on peer-to-peer basis. So if we would look into that concept, and then when we look into the evolution of cryptocurrencies, and then at the time when Libra was looking into banking the unbanked and coming up with the issue of stable coins, I think this was the beginning of the revolution. That was when Bitcoin, with its white paper, turned on a few light bulbs. Again, you can exclude people from financial services. Banks are not super inclusive. If you are in a remote area in some, I don't know, African town, or you will not have the same access, and remittance is going to be super expensive. Blockchain can solve that, because you can allow peer-to-peer transactions that could happen from your wallet to mine. But now with regulation coming in, unfortunately, there is some sort of additional levels of complexity to sort of prevent the actual financial inclusion part of blockchain that we had at the very beginning in cryptocurrencies. But if it's a peer-to-peer transaction that goes from my wallet to your wallet, regulations like travel rule would not apply, but you have to have stable internet connection. You have to understand how to manage your own cold or hot wallet. So this is one thing. The other thing is, we also see with CBDCs, with central bank digital currencies, at least in Europe, we have the Digital Euro project. The Digital Euro project would allow each and every European citizen to have a specific threshold directly within the Digital Euro, that also have functionalities that are offline, that you can have access to that money whenever needed. China took a complete different approach. If you don't use your balance of central bank digital currency, it will just go.
Wow. Okay.
Then you see, I don't know how that would go. I have to give it a bit more thought. We're seeing a bit of trend in de-dollarization. Will the dollar still be a dominant currency or not? And this is another discussion that is happening on a BRICS level. So I think, honestly, what drove me and attracted me into the world of digital assets and crypto was the financial inclusion part, was making sure that you can have cheap instant payments, cutting out any sort of intermediaries where needed. And yes, there will be regulatory hurdles, but technology can solve a lot of this. When I was talking about access, we have another type of technology that is emerging and is starting to show a lot of progress with digital identities and self-sovereign identities that could give trust to a digital bank to open up a bank account where it doesn't know a lot about you.
Mm-hmm.
So from a geopolitical point of view, we're seeing a bit more of silos. We're seeing a lot of central banks and governments trying to have dominance and control over some of what they would see as speculative currencies. And we're looking at new types of asset-backed currencies.
Mm-hmm.
In MiCA, we call them asset reference tokens.
Mm-hmm.
That are not necessarily only backed by money. They could be backed by real assets. They could be backed by a portfolio of assets. So we can diversify some of the risks that we're seeing. Question to be seen, maybe in the next couple of years, what would happen to the dollar? Because if the US would still have a negative stance against crypto, when the majority of the cryptocurrencies have a crypto to dollar kind of settlement mechanism, they will be losing out, and we'll be seeing more of the real world asset or asset-backed reference tokens that will be taking its place.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say, obviously I'm not an expert on it, but I'm very curious for me as well, because I feel like, I do global, real estate, and sometimes the first thing I look is, can I even transfer money from this country to this country, especially when it's, in the commercial real estate space, sometimes it's very large amount of money.
Yep.
I had experiences where the money gets held in one, bank because it cannot transfer to this other one, and it stays there for like months sometimes, and it's very complex, right? Just
Absolutely.
to be able to, as the world opens up with the internet, AI, and it's open for all of us now with social media, and we can literally have access to all of these new opportunities. But when you are trying to actually being able to monetize it, it's hard, because you can just go to any country. You're gonna have to see the political, relationships to be able to move it.
And I fully agree. And I think this is, again, where we can utilize technologies like blockchain, because blockchain would allow you to have atomic settlements. So you would have instant delivery versus payment. You'll have instant payment versus payment. And you're not compromising on regulation or compliance, because you'll be able to do all of these checks in a more digital, almost on the same day, if it's not within the same few minutes. So if we embrace the technology in a proper way, we will be able to resolve this and unlock a lot of assets that are just sitting still somewhere, and giving them more liquidity.
I love that. I can't wait until we get to that point, to be honest. Can you share with us AI integrations into the financial systems? Like, what are the positives of it, and what are some of the negatives that you see?
Again, I love this question. I think that in a lot of cases, people will be looking into AI with a lot of skepticism and think, okay, it's going to take my job. We're going to be obsolete tomorrow. But I would also go again to the convergence between blockchain and AI. The things that we're worried about from an AI perspective can be resolved by the trust that blockchain could give it in terms of ensuring the data quality or the data sources will be coming from. Where I see in terms of benefits, we can have tailor-made financial advice coming from AI. If you would be able to set your risk appetite, your parameters into what you want to really do, you can have your own AI advisor, again, cutting down on the intermediaries, and you can have immediate price discoveries. You can have unlocked opportunities that you were not aware of, where you can have instant market research, etc. I see the use of AI happening even more in high-frequency trading, in algo advisory. In terms of opportunity, I think AI is an excellent tool to be used in terms of fraud prevention, money laundering, because it will be able to identify trends and report them. So these are in terms of the benefits. In terms of the risks that I see, I'm really, really worried about bias. So if you would have any sort of AI bias that would go against the initial concept of digital assets and crypto being financially inclusive, because they would start profiling people in terms of their ethnicity, their race, their financial power, and then they'll be giving them sorts of ratings, which is against AI principles from an OECD and UN perspective. So if not implemented right, we'll be excluding people from financial services, and we'll be increasing the bias against them. I see an issue with if we do not control the data properly and make sure that it's authentic and proper, that we'll be having data hallucination, and we need to have some sort of a human intervention to ensure that what the AI is proposing is still within your appetite and what is really a suitable financial product for you. And I think I never thought I would say that as someone who is like Web3 advocate. The changes are happening so quickly. So I think that the regulators and the supervisors are not necessarily keeping up with the pace, and it's not to blame them or anything, but they need specific skill sets and they need to keep up to date. And with blockchain, we had some time, but with AI, specifically with generative AI, it's so just present. It's at your fingertips. You can immediately start experimenting with it and start having live use cases. So I think this is another danger that I see with AI. But all in all, I think the prospects should be positive.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like for me, obviously seeing the AI coming in at the beginning, you heard mostly of the scarcity of it. Why is, they're like people say they're going to take my jobs. But I think in my experience, every time something new comes and it's out of our daily environment, out of what we're used to, is the moment for all of us to pivot, right? And figure it out. If it is here to stay, what can I do? What kind of skills do I have to improve in order for AI not to take my job? What can I do to make it better and integrate instead of be against it? And obviously there is not much we can do as far as controlling it, so might as well embrace it and get educated, get the skills that you will need in order to pivot it and go with it. So I think your input is obviously very, very well received. I think it's amazing, especially for all of our audience watching. And for our last question, what advice would you give smaller, bigger enterprises that would like to expand to global markets?
I'll have to think about that for a second, because for SMEs, I think the majority of SMEs might be a bit too focused on their day-to-day operations, that they need to have a bit more perspective on what's coming next. And I believe, like with bigger enterprises, with incumbents, they might have resources and they might have specific departments that will be advising them on technological changes that are coming in the future, and they will be able to spend a lot of money on consultancies and research papers, etc. But I think these emerging technologies could really be a make or break for a lot of the SMEs. If you look into blockchain or digital assets, by nature, it is borderless. So it could give them the edge of having this international expansion that they're looking for. With AI, it is very easy that you do not really need a lot of time to look into how to look into the code and the technicalities like you do in blockchain. That said, ignoring it would mean that you'll be out of the business. The sooner you embrace it, the more you can ride on the wave and you can make it work for you rather than you working for it. I think education is key. Awareness is key. And the good thing is there are very good courses. There are very good opportunities for you to look into it. Some of them are open source, but you have to be very careful because, again, we have fake portals that might be giving deceiving information. And again, you need to don't trust, verify kind of approach. But if you do not embrace, you'll be left behind. And I think this is very, very much more geared towards SMEs than it is for bigger enterprises. And it could give them a lot of opportunity to grow in efficiency and scale, because blockchain, technically, you could own intermediaries. AI, you can, to a certain extent, reduce time and maybe have, you don't really need 10 analysts. JP Morgan has recently said that they can be replacing a lot of their analysts with an AI, Gen AI kind of solution. So make it work for you, embrace it, and the sooner you adopt it, the better it is for your business.
Thank you so much. I think you couldn't say it better. Embrace it. It's here to stay, so might as well get on it right away and learn.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
We really appreciate it. Your knowledge is so powerful, and I really hope you guys took a lot of notes. And thank you for watching.
Thank you so much.